Hey guys, and welcome back to a glorious Monday, and yes, part 2 of the ChickenWing Chronicles. Right, well, in part 2, I've just rewound the audio just a little bit, so you guys haven't really lost any information that's been divulged by CCP SaberWing, and yeah, this is just gonna go straight into it, no ifs, buts, or maybes. Yes, guys, please don't forget to comment on the actual video itself, or on the actual forum thread. I do value your comments, even the ones that don't agree with me, because that helps form a healthy debate about the topics and subjects at hand. Alright guys, thank you much for watching guys, and enjoy. But I have just one more question about Dust before we move on and leave the subject in the past where it needs to be. As you've put there, SaberWing dude, a lot of people do play Eve and play Dust. A lot of people have PCs, and a lot of people are solely console gamers. What's going to be done for the console gamers that have helped develop Dust to the point where it's going to become Legion? Are they still going to be able to play on the PS4? Is there plans in the works to go to the PS4? Because obviously the next step for these guys who got the PS3 is to go to the PS4. Not necessarily a PC. Is there some sort of framework in place? Can you talk about it? Can't you talk about it? Is there some sort of idea?
I can tell you everything that we truthfully know at this point. So there's two questions there. One is what's happening for Dust, and we're talking about all the blue posts that are on the Legion forum and everything.
Yeah.
But another thing that we've been doing, and I work very closely with him, so I like giving him a +1 here. Is CCP Ratati's been doing a lot of work on Dust stuff, and we're working incredibly closely with CPM, gathering suggestions from the forums, and both himself, I speak with him very regularly, and Logibro and this sort of thing, and we're working very closely to, our goal here is to really kind of iterate and make a bunch of very meaningful and impactful changes on Dust and to improve the game. And so his background, I think he mentioned this in his dev spotlight too, is he comes from a background of analytics, and he's like a total data nerd. He spends a lot of time in Excel, and that's awesome, because that's exactly what I feel like a game like Dust really is kind of hinged on. And so what we're doing is we're looking at the data, we're looking at what weapons people use, what weapons are neglected, or what drop sets, what fittings people are using, that sort of thing. And then we're comparing that to community feedback. People might be saying like, oh well, the Galente Scout is like, it's overpowered right now, or whatever. And then we can look at our data, and we can look at that, we can speak to the CPM, we can speak to people on the forums and be like, okay, well, what kind of changes can we make to make this like a better experience? And I think, look, I've made the fun mistake of adding a lot of people to Skype from the game, and I do love it. Like, I love speaking to players, but it's really kind of funny. Like, I come home at midnight or something on a Saturday or Sunday, and I have like 5 people messaging me like with a wall of text, like, why the hell are you nerfing my Sentinel or something? And it's like, dude, like, first of all, I don't have a vendetta against your personal fit, like whatever you're running. And secondly, it's a Saturday. And thirdly, like, we're just doing this to make this a better game. Like, ultimately, what we're trying to do here is improve Dust as much as we can. And there's a lot of things that I think that we can still do, and that we're still putting the manpower behind. So
yeah. So
currently, right now, the plan is to do a lot of these rapidly, and that's what we're working on, and that's a very real thing. And we don't have a set fixed date for this first release yet, but I can tell you that it's not going to be too far away. So we're working on that right now.
So have you got about half of your original team still working on Dust? Would that be reasonable to say?
No, I would say it's probably a little bit less than that, but it doesn't work quite like that either. It's not like we quite fragment people's time out. Some people may be working on both projects, and there's a lot of shared resources too. I'm a community guy, but I'm a community bro for both Dust and Legion, and there's a lot of these sort of departments where that overlaps too. So it's not quite an easy split like that. But like I said, what is safe to say is that we're absolutely not like just abandoning the game, which like a lot of people's
that is again very, very good to know, because believe it or not, you might find this a bit sad of me. Dust visually is not a very good game. It's the community that keeps bringing me back. My Carbon 7 brethren. The humor, the laughs, the giggles, the trolls. With the Carbon 7 and the great community is what keeps me playing Dust. for me anyway. The visuals aren't necessarily great, which is why I think Legion needs to be the next sort of iteration of Dust. But again, I'll ask, is there some sort of framework for it to go towards the PS4 for the PS3
Right.
users who can't necessarily go towards a PC? Because
So that was
I think that's the next logical step for the PS3 console soul, the sole console gamer, because people don't necessarily want a PC, they just want a PS4. And the next upgrade for them is obviously PS4. Is there an idea, or at least a chat or a discussion about the PS4 version of Legion? Because Valkyrie's being developed on PC and PS4. I know that Valkyrie dev has come across to Shanghai. Is that part of it, or is that not? Or is that just me talking out my ass?
So that was
usual.
the second question you asked. Yeah, as usual.
Yeah.
So that was the second question that you asked. So the absolute truth of the answer, and this is what we said at the time, is that at the moment, Project Legion and Dust 514, they're not interconnected in the way that there's no crossplay between the games, and a lot of the things that we're developing for Legion is not going to be developed for Dust 514. That being said, I mean, I totally get, there are console players who their next logical step is a PS4 from a PS3, and I totally get that. The honest truth of the answer is that PC is our first step. So right now we're developing. Well. Yeah, so I mean that is absolutely where all of our focus is at the moment. Is making this game kick ass on PC. That being said, we're absolutely not closing the door on a potential future move. Another next gen console.
That's good to know as well.
So I mean, like I know that's quite non-committal, but it's the honest truth, and that there is no locked-in decision. And we come from PS3 with Dust 514, and a lot of people here love consoles. So I mean, it's something we're absolutely not closing ourselves off to. But at the same time, PC is the focus for Legion right now, and it's what we're working on. And look, we need to just hone our efforts on making this game as awesome as it can possibly be first before we start looking at ways to expand that. So
well, I think it's quite reasonable to say that you can do your best developing on one platform and then start thinking about porting over to others. And
that makes sense.
I think that's a pretty good way to go about it. As long as you do port to PS4. I'm sorry, hardcore.
You just want your freaking tree, dude. All right, CCP bro, set your fucking tree on fire, okay?
Yeah. That was the one thing. That was the other thing that really cheesed me off about the really rubbish announcement at FanFest. Is it totally overshadowed the most important thing that happened in the whole flipping FanFest.
Was the tree. Yeah, so I told CCP Rouge about that. I said, you know what, you have to go on stage and mention tree. Like, they love trees and they love water. So, like, if you can mention one of those things on stage. So we had a tree, and I think it's, it's kind of funny that, like, we set fire to it. So,
it was.
It's quite funny. That wasn't a representation of you, Booker, I'm afraid.
But we were very excited. I was very excited about trees, and then everybody ignored the whole thing because they were just so upset about the rubbish announcement. But that was my highlight for FanFest.
Yeah, you know what? Honestly, the visuals in the game, it's like mind-blowing to me. I mean, I hang out with a lot of the graphics guys here, the visuals, and the stuff that they're talking to me about is. I mean, look, I'm not a graphics guy. I don't understand half of what they say, but I pretend to. And like what they're showing me looks really, really awesome. It's they're talking about lighting and stuff that hasn't been been used in any other game. And
the orbital strike in that little video that you did on the stage. How badass did that look with the clouds all blooming swelling out? And,
I know. So I spoke to. Actually, just was it a couple days ago? We ran a dev spotlight on. And the CCP Space Dog. So he was talking about orbital strike effects and all that sort of stuff. He's the guy that's responsible for making a lot of those things. And I asked him,
dude, he's got some awesomeness there, man. Wow.
Yeah, I know. And he said, he actually told me, he's like, oh, it's actually quite simple. And I was like, damn, like that looks really cool. If that's simple, then like,
keep doing it.
Holy shit, what is like complicated gonna look like? So there's some really cool things that obviously being on a PC is going to give us the bandwidth to do, and I'm really excited to see it. We play test every day here, and just how far we're able to push the game, it's really exciting. So
I like what you guys are doing. You're focusing your efforts on the PC. put all of it onto the PC, develop Legion for the PC, which you say will come out fairly soon. Which I think. I'm paraphrasing here. You're focusing your efforts on the PC, so you can give us the game we all want, the game we all need, which Dust couldn't deliver. And Rouge is giving us what we want.
PS3.
Yeah, so what? It's becoming on PS4, PC, and then it gets ported wherever, hopefully one day. So yeah.
In our dreams.
No, I'm making a point of proving that there's going to be a market on the PS4 for it. I'm going to prove that point.
Yes!
Right, well, enough about Dust 514, alright, enough about the FanFest, enough about the seriousness. Booker, I'll ask about the CPMs, and so on. Are the CPMs themselves still currently a force to be reckoned with regards to the weight they can put behind or against ideas that developers put out there? Because I know that one got let go, one's been stood down because he's had enough or something, and there's only like three left, which is Genza and Hans. I know Genza and Hans quite well, and they're having, from what I can tell, a pretty tough time because they're getting fired on the forums quite. They're putting a lot of fires out. What's going on there, dude, with the old CPMOs?
So, okay, CPMOs. Okay, I've never heard them called that. CPM zeros. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So I can talk forever about community stuff. I mean, I see CPM every single day, and I guess the first thing to say is that CPM zero have been pretty much awesome since the beginning. They've been really, really great, and we've even publicly said on the forums and stuff that there have been difficulties along the way, and I think when we first started with the CPM, I actually wasn't here. It was difficult for them to have a point contact in Shanghai, so that's changed a little bit now that I'm here. I speak to them on a daily basis.
Okay.
There's actually 4 active members still left. So
who are they? Do you mind me asking? So I know.
Absolutely, yeah. So I mean, you said Genza and Hans. Those are 2 of them. We also have Iron Wolf Saber.
Yes.
And so he's incredibly active on the forums, and we have Kane Sparrow, who is super involved with Planetary Conquest and Molten Heath and all that stuff, although not so much recently. So he, they all came out to FanFest. I met all 4 of them as well, and they're still doing their part. And to be totally honest, to say that they're getting a hard time on the forums is an understatement. I think those guys go out there and they get a lot of abuse, and I do sympathize with that extremely. And I tell them this too in person. I say, look, guys, like it totally sucks, and you don't have to feel obligated to. So they don't do it because we're asking them to, and they absolutely aren't a mouthpiece for us. That's not their purpose at all, and like, it's just super important to be clear about that, because I think a lot of people assume that we kind of use them as a way to communicate with people, and that's not the case.
I do get the impression at the time that they were really upset that the message hadn't got across about Legion, and quite a few posts I saw them put, especially Hans was trying to say, "Oh, you don't understand what they're trying to do. Please, look further than your nose."
Yeah,
and,
absolutely.
I think they were quite frustrated at that point.
Yeah,
and then getting berated on the forums because they're what was the favorite one said? They're a CCP pet, and I'm like, what? No, no. Genza is anything but a pet.
Yeah,
God.
I mean, some people make the wrong assertions about them, and that's not the way it is at all. They're absolutely not like, a speech puppet or anything like that at all. And I think part of Hans's frustration there, to be honest, is that he has a bit more context, or had a bit more context as to how things were going to pan out and what we're working on here, and so he was probably just frustrated to not see that communicated, completely to the community, so people can make a well-rounded judgment of the whole situation. And I think that's probably where his frustration lied, and I can understand that. So, say that that they're having a hard time in the forums, I totally get that. And what I tell them personally is, look, guys, whatever you get, you're not being paid to deal with it, but whatever you do get, ultimately, I get it 10 times worse. So, just
No, I get that,
abuse you get out there,
Yeah, but you get paid to do it. You deserve.
That's what I'm saying.
You deserve
that's
it.
what I'm saying. Yeah. So, and the thing is, they've been totally awesome the whole time. And just yesterday we announced candidacies open. So we're going to,
exciting times.
Yeah. So we're absolutely going to have a CPM one, and I guess this is actually a good place to talk about that a little bit. And we've been discussing it a lot internally, and how it's going to fit into the process going forward and stuff. And we're all super excited about it. I think the thing that we tried to make clear even in the candidacy announcement is that it is as of right now, it's predominantly related to Dust 514, and because it's a game, we actually have something out there and people are playing it. We have a community around that, and that's very much where the crux of the focus is. But there will be some limited involvement with Project Legion 2, and they are advocacy council. Like, we are under no illusions about that. They're there to serve several different purposes, but one of them is to bring community concerns to us, CCP, and like, we're absolutely sure that that's a part of that is going to be migration stuff, etc. So, like, we're totally aware of that, and I'm excited. I think the current guys, bless them, have been super awesome, but they're a little burnt out. They've been in office for a while now, and I think that's part of it too. It is not the easiest thing. It's quite taxing. They have to do some pretty crazy hours sometimes, and we give them some homework some time to do, and they've taken a few bumps along the ride. So nothing but love for them. So.
Oh no,
Yeah,
I've
we've
never
had-
had
we-
anything. I've never had. I won't say I've never had a bad word to say about them, because some individuals there, I think, are using the mechanics for their own advantage. But I'm not going down that road. But my question to you is, the CPM 1 candidacies. Is there actually a need? I'm not trying to jump on a CEO Pyrex's bandwagon. I'm just trying to figure out for myself, is there actually a need for a CPM 1? Because the CPMs are primarily, as you've said, Dust 514, okay? Legion is going to be the next step for Dust. They don't have, or would they have, as you said, limited involvement? Is there a need for them, CPM 1s? Or should you just, like, dare I say it, call it quits on the CPMs, current CPMs, and then obviously go full development for Legion, and then have an election for the Legion CPMs? Or is that just me talking on my ass, or is that
Again.
like what? Again, or is that just me being misinformed?
So, I mean, I totally take your point there, and that's absolutely one way you could go about it, right?
Just a small baby troll there for you guys. Cut this guy off just before we answer the question that we all want to know, and blow away any misconceptions that we might all have. Right, guys, very thought-provoking stuff in the part 2 of the CyberWing Chronicles. Having said that, please go and enter those thoughts in the comment section below, or enter them on the actual forum itself, guys. Please get to the CPM sub-forum, get to know your candidates, get to know who you're going to vote for, get to know the people behind the actual name. Those are the only ways you can actually fully vote for the person that's going to represent you towards the devs. Get yourselves informed, get to know who you're voting for, and my advice to you guys is, Bam's tip of the day is go and crack yourselves an ice cold beer right now. Part 3 will be coming up soon, guys. Thank you very, very much for watching. Cheers.